Welcome to another yoga meditation. I thought today we would just do a very short yoga flow, which is really just going to revolve around one pose, asana, the Baddha Konasana, otherwise known as the butterfly. It is a brilliant pose because it can be very simple, or it can be very, not difficult, but it can do a lot for you, depending on how much you want to lean into it, or how much you're able. That's the way with a lot of yoga poses. Soft can be hard, hard can be soft, and essentially it can often be down to how much we're able to push ourselves, how much we feel like we want to push ourselves. Baddha Konasana for me is brilliant in the middle of a long flow, but it can also be something that I just go to get me into a calmer state of mind. Even sometimes just as a substitute for what I'm doing now, which is the Padmasana. There are two asanas that I use to meditate in, and one is this Padmasana, the other is the Vajrasana, which I'll show you. It's this. They're both wonderful poses. I guess when you're first starting off, it might be better to start with Padmasana. I hear that some people, when they first start in Vajrasana like this, after about 10 minutes or so, the legs can want to come out of it. But I do believe it's supposed that the more you get used to, the more your body will get used to it. I say this because Baddha Konasana is what I sort of see as like the third pose that's like those two and could be meditated in. It's just perhaps, I don't know. Let's see. So we're going to start by just moving into it, and essentially, we're putting the soles of our feet together. Our knees are coming out wide to either side. And we're seeking to at least straighten our back. If you want, you might feel better sitting on a block. I don't always, but again, it depends how much I'm trying to lean into it or move into it. So if we start with Padmasana now, or if you're already moving into Baddha Konasana, feel free to stay as you are. We're just going to bring out the soles of the feet so that they're touching, and I'll take mine off the mat slightly because I'm side on. In fact, I'm going to move right to the edge of the mat here. And again, like so many asanas, it's a pose where you're going to get as good as you give, or it will be as hard as you want to go. You can keep your legs out like this if you want. You might have trouble holding on to your feet, but if you want and if you can, move them as close to your Muladhara as possible. And perhaps you just want to clasp your hands over the feet. And so often in these kinds of flows, or when we're doing yoga flows, we're thinking, okay, what next? With meditative flows, there doesn't always have to be a what next. For me, meditation is about not necessarily a straight line, but just a dot. when life is a path of straight lines, or any forms of lines, squiggly lines, we're always looking a little bit further down the path, even if we stopped on the path, and even if we've stopped to reflect, take a breath. That straight line gives us the chance to look behind us and look in front of us. That's not what we have to do in meditation. So if we can start to see meditation instead of a straight line, to see it as a dot, then it's simply, here we are. Here we sit, and whatever comes to us, comes to us. Whatever leaves us, leaves us. This is the most simple form of the Baddha Konasana. And again, I think it's quite a good position to meditate in, especially if you've got those hands clasped over the feet. There's not much in your body that's pulling one way or another. You're only really having to exert some amount of stress or stretch onto your back muscles, and it's only mild. I like that because in Padmasana we're not really having to exert anything. Similar with Vajrasana. This is slightly one step up. So perhaps you might want to just meditate, just holding on as you're doing, palms clasped in a form of prayer, and gaze straight ahead of you. Another version of the Baddha Konasana is to move the chin forwards. I mention the chin because essentially what we're doing is we're moving the back and the shoulders forwards without really bending the back. Obviously you're not going to, well, you might be able to keep it completely straight, but just trying to keep it as straight as possible. And the chin can play a part because if your chin is always staying on that level towards the ground, it will give you something to work with and allow you to keep your gaze level. So wherever I'm looking at right now, my head isn't moving its angle at what it's looking. Breath is always important in meditation. And, well, actually, I'll just say, it depends what we view as important. When we get into certain kinds of meditation, nothing becomes important. But when we're focusing on an asana, we can get into it more precisely with breath. And so with Baddha Konasana, with the inhale, it's often good to use the inhale to straighten the back. Inhaling, straightening the back. Exhaling, letting the elbows drop. Inhaling, straightening the back. Exhaling, letting those shoulders drop. And then when we move forwards, as we were just doing, we can inhale, straighten the back, exhale, bring that chin slightly further forwards. Holding here on the kumbhaka, inhaling one more time, straightening that back, but not coming up. Exhaling, forward even more if we can. Maybe just a few gentle breaths here. You can also feel those elbows push into the sides of the thighs, pushing the legs further towards the ground, but also using that leverage to pull us slightly further forwards if we can. Coming back up for a moment. A few breaths here. The way my body works, it isn't best for that variation, as I can't go all the way. One day maybe, not today. But another variation is where you can curve the spine and take your gaze downwards and inwards. Let's give that a try. So we'll inhale and straighten the back to start with, and then exhale and just curve the spine and move down and inwards. Inhaling, just taking in breath, and exhaling, using that exhale to come a little closer. Letting that head drop, sinking more into darkness, coming away from the external light around us. It's a form of pratyahara, the aspect of closing in our senses almost. And in many ways, this can be a more restful pose than when we're upright, because we're no longer relying on those back muscles to hold ourselves up in that position. We can just take our time here and let everything flow. Inhaling, coming back up. And just checking in. Perhaps still from the observer mindset. How do we feel? Are our energies slightly changed? How's our vision? Are we calmer? And perhaps just from here, you might want to put the block to one side and move into slightly more stable Padmasana. There is also the option of the Supta Konasana, which is if we then lie down, just hug those knees in and massage that back out slightly. Perhaps you want to move from side to side, take circles. Feet to the floor. Palms to the sides. With an exhale, just let those legs come back out to the left and the right side. Feet together still. Perhaps you want to put your palms just below the solar plexus, feeling that breath come in and out, feeling the stomach rise as you bring that breath low down. And this is the ultimate Konasana form. At least the ultimate relaxed meditative form. You may feel stretch along the top of your legs from the hips, the inner thighs, but it's not a stretch that you're having to hold. It's a stretch that's working entirely of its own accord. You may want to place your palms either side of you, earthing them, facing your palms to the ground. And if you're keeping your eyes open, you might just want to find a center point on the ceiling that you're looking at. Perhaps you might now want to take your palms either side of you. Or up into a form similar to goddess. There is the option to take them above the head and just rest them here. As though you're taking in light through the crown with each inhale and exhaling it out all the way through your core towards those soles together at the bottom of your mat. Perhaps spending a few more minutes just wherever suits you best. And then slowly bringing the knees back together. You can perhaps take a Shavasana from here. Just letting everything flow through you or flow out of you. Whatever is needed. I'm going to bring myself up. Feel free to keep your meditation going in whatever way feels best. Thank you for joining.